Hello and welcome to NTD News Today. Kevin Hogan here. Let's take a look at our top stories. The House starting debate on President Biden's social spending package as the president showcases his newly signed infrastructure deal and what it means for electric vehicles. The battle over vaccine mandates rages on. New Hampshire lawmakers pass a measure to ban them altogether, and hundreds of workers in Los Angeles face unpaid leave. This while the Biden administration plans to ramp up vaccine production. Catholic bishops gather to discuss communion and create a new document on giving communion. It comes after controversy over Catholic politicians who support abortion. A second crew member on the movie Rust files a lawsuit over the fatal shooting on set. The production company continues to conduct its own investigation. It looks like the House will start debate on President Biden's nearly $2 trillion spending bill today, but votes will have to wait. NTD's Jessica Beatty reports.
The House starting debate on the president's social spending bill Thursday, but it's unclear when they'll vote on it. A group of House Democrats are waiting for a CBO score, and the Senate has to have it under budget reconciliation rules. The Senate Majority Leader hoping to get it done soon.
We aim to pass it before Christmas.
Senate Republicans warning that more spending will make inflation worse. The CPI shows food prices are already up 5.3% compared to a year ago.
Food inflation under President Biden's watch is the highest since the Carter administration.
Despite the finger pointing, there's been massive spending under both Democrats and Republicans since the pandemic hit. The House could vote on Biden's spending package as soon as this week. Meanwhile, President Biden's meeting with the leaders of Canada and Mexico Thursday afternoon. The meeting aims to further joint economic cooperation. The United States is Mexico's and Canada's top trade partner, especially with cars and trucks. But Canada and Mexico are worried about Biden's Buy American provisions and a proposed electric vehicle tax credit that would favor unionized U.S.-based manufacturers. Also up for discussion, how to fight the pandemic and climate issues together. The meeting comes as Biden showcases his newly signed infrastructure deal. On Wednesday, he toured a General Motors plant in Detroit that manufactures electric vehicles. He's highlighting the billions of dollars in the deal that will go towards setting up electric vehicle chargers. It's an attempt to leapfrog China in the EV market.
Up until now, China's been leading in this race, but that's about to change. We're going to make sure that the jobs of the future end up here in Michigan, not halfway around the world.
After touring the GM plant, Biden drove a battery-powered Hummer.
Anybody want to jump in the back?
Biden's package plans to build 500,000 charging stations across the country. Jessica Beatty, NTD News.
And as Thanksgiving approaches, there's something a lot of folks won't be thankful for: the cost of dinner. The average price of turkey and all the fixins is expected to be about 14% higher than last year. That's according to the Farm Bureau's 36th annual survey. The cost of the bird alone is up 24% from last year. So what's the reason for the rise? If you guess supply chain issues, you're right, along with the difficulty of predicting demand because of COVID and high global demand for food, particularly meat. The Biden administration is planning to ramp up vaccine production. This while New Hampshire lawmakers approve a measure banning any vaccine mandates. Biden is planning to allocate billions of dollars to increasing U.S. COVID vaccine manufacturing. Officials said HHS will reach out to mRNA vaccine companies. That's so they can identify opportunities to increase supply. The goal is to make 1 billion doses per year starting in the second half of 2022. White House COVID coordinator Jeff Zients said the plan would also help the country produce vaccines within 6 to 9 months of identifying a future pathogen.
It would combine the expertise of the U.S. government in basic scientific research with the robust ability of pharmaceutical companies to manufacture mRNA vaccines.
And in California, correctional officers will have to be vaccinated by January 12th or risk losing their jobs. That's because a judge denied their request to delay it. And while lawyers, lawmakers, and countless citizens have asserted the mandate itself is unconstitutional, the judge said not imposing the mandate violates the prisoner's constitutional rights. The order applies while they wait for an appeal in the Ninth Circuit Court. It's Governor Newsom and the state's prison guards union who are fighting the mandate. The plaintiffs say there haven't been major spikes in cases among prisoners since March, and that thousands of prison staffers have worked through the pandemic to keep communities safe, but now they face choosing between an unwanted medical procedure or losing their jobs. This comes as Los Angeles Mayor Eric Garcetti said 700 city employees could go on unpaid leave in the next 2 weeks. That's because they are not complying with the city's vaccine mandate. The mayor says the vast majority of city workers are vaccinated and that his goal is to keep every employee and make sure they are all safe. Though thousands have protested against the city's mandate, saying they aren't against vaccines, but are against being forced to take them. A new study suggests about 30% of healthcare workers in U.S. hospitals were unvaccinated against COVID-19 as of mid-September. The CDC and Johns Hopkins University analyzed the data. They looked at about 3.4 million healthcare workers in more than 2,000 hospitals. The study was published today in the American Journal of Infection Control. Health officials in the U.S. are investigating a case of monkeypox in Maryland. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention says the patient involved recently returned to the U.S. from Nigeria. They are currently in isolation. The CDC is working with their international counterparts, the airline, and local health officials to reach out to anyone who may have been in close contact with the patient, but they believe there was low risk of the virus spreading at the airport because of current COVID-19 restrictions. Monkeypox is a rare but serious illness. It typically begins with flu-like symptoms and swollen lymph nodes before progressing into a rash on the face and body. 218 cases have been confirmed in Nigeria since 2017. There have also been 8 cases in the U.S. linked to international travelers since then. And over in Baltimore, Catholic bishops discussed whether Catholic politicians should receive communion if they support abortion. It comes after controversy over President Biden's abortion stance. Biden and Catholic congressmen were never mentioned by name, but they seem to be the unspoken focus. There has been controversy over whether or not church leaders should offer them communion. Some attendees don't want the Catholic faith to be discussed in connection with politics, while others want to put a spotlight on politicians who act contrary to the Catholic view of abortion. The bishops voted on a communion document to clarify the church's position. The document doesn't specifically call for withholding sacraments from politicians like Biden, but it could offer justification for individual bishops to do so. The bishops widely approved the document, though some voted against it and asked for further alterations and amendments. Senator Josh Hawley has introduced a Parents' Bill of Rights to defend the role of parents in education. The bill includes giving parents the right to access the entire contents of their child's curriculum. This comes as parents nationwide are demanding greater transparency from their schools.
Republican Senator Josh Hawley is proposing to strengthen the rights of parents in education, introducing Tuesday the Parents' Bill of Rights Act. It outlines 8 rights parents should have regarding their children's education, and if these rights are violated by federally funded schools, the bill would enable parents to sue. Among the 8 rights include the right for parents to know what exactly their child is being taught in school and who is teaching them. This right could be especially crucial since at present, parents usually aren't able to obtain copies of a curriculum if it's copyrighted. The bill would also require schools to disclose information to parents about outside groups receiving school contracts and funding. In addition, it states school board meetings about curricula and other student issues must be held in public and allow for public comments. Hawley said in a press release that America is seeing a concerted effort by the left to shut parents out. He pointed to the Justice Department's involvement in investigating alleged threats from parents against school boards, and activists funded by dark money who seek to quietly introduce critical race theory into school curricula. Hawley said it's time to give control back to parents, not woke bureaucrats, and empower them to start a new era of openness in education.
And in Virginia, jurors are set to hear closing arguments in a civil lawsuit. It's seeking to hold white nationalists accountable for the violence that erupted in 2017 in Charlottesville. Lawyers for 9 people who were physically injured or emotionally scarred over the 2-day event allege that the defendants conspired to commit racially motivated violence. Attorneys for Unite the Right rally attendees say there was no conspiracy. They say their use of racial terms in chat rooms before the rally is protected by the First Amendment. Hundreds of people descended on Charlottesville on August 11th and 12th, 2017, to protest the city's plans to remove a statue of Confederate General Robert E. Lee. During a march on the University of Virginia campus, rally attendees reacted to counter-protesters throwing burning tiki torches at them. The following day, an avowed admirer of Adolf Hitler rammed his car into a crowd of counter-protesters. One woman was killed and dozens were injured. The driver of the car is serving life in prison. He is one of 24 individuals and organizations named as defendants in the lawsuit. The suit is seeking unspecified monetary damages and a judgment that the defendants violated the plaintiff's constitutional rights. A court is set to clear 2 men convicted of assassinating civil rights leader Malcolm X. This after they've spent decades in prison. Malcolm X was shot dead by 3 members of the Nation of Islam while giving a speech in 1965. All 3 suspects, included Muhammad Aziz and the late Khalil Islam, were sentenced to life in prison in 1966. A 2-year reinvestigation later found new documents that pointed to other suspects. A still-living witness also supported an alibi Aziz gave that he was at home with a leg injury at the time of the shooting. District Attorney Cyrus Vance Jr. tweeted that his office, the Innocence Project, would move to vacate the wrongful convictions, releasing more details at Thursday's court appearance. A second crew member on the movie Rust has filed a lawsuit over the fatal shooting on set. The tragedy left the cinematographer dead and the director injured. NTD's Andrew Thomas reports.
Script supervisor Mamie Mitchell said she was preparing to film a scene when she heard an explosion. She heard director Joel Souza moan and fall back, then saw cinematographer Helena Hutchins also fall.
I saw Alec going through his movement with the gun for the camera. I was holding my script in my left hand and had taken out my iPhone and opened up my photos to check the continuity on his shirt and vest. Then an explosion. Deafening, loud gunshot. I was stunned.
Hutchins died, and Souza was wounded. Attorney Gloria Allred says the suit alleges negligence by Baldwin, who was also one of the movie's producers, and others.
In our opinion, Mr. Baldwin chose to play Russian roulette when he fired a gun without checking it and without having the armorer do so in his presence.
The shooting occurred October 21st in Santa Fe, New Mexico, where the Western was being filmed. The lawsuit was filed in Los Angeles County because the plaintiff and most of the defendants are based there.
We are seeking compensatory and punitive damages for Mamie, who was shocked, traumatized, and who suffered physical and emotional harm because of what she saw, heard, and experienced when she was in the line of fire.
Baldwin has said he is heartbroken and is cooperating with law enforcement. Production company Rust Movie Productions is conducting its own probe.
I'll never forget what happened on the set of Rust that day. I relived the shooting and the sound of the explosion from the gun over and over again. I'm depressed. I don't feel safe. I feel like at any moment anything could happen to me.
Attorneys representing the film's armorer, Hannah Gutierrez-Reed, on November 3rd, alleged that a disgruntled and unhappy individual may have intended to sabotage the set by replacing dummy rounds of ammunition with live rounds. Andrew Thomas, NTD News.
The jury is still deliberating their verdict for Kyle Rittenhouse. There's now talk about the judge possibly throwing the case out. NTD's Miguel Moreno has more on how this could play out.
Jurors have taken a lead role in the Kyle Rittenhouse trial. The defendant, the court, and the country now await the jury's verdict. The Rittenhouse legal team, however, has asked the judge to declare a mistrial with prejudice. If the judge were to do this, he would cancel the trial and Rittenhouse would walk away a free man, free of charges. Wisconsin criminal defense attorney Kirk Everson tells me this is unlikely to happen.
Why has the defense asked for a mistrial with prejudice?
Well, with prejudice would obviously mean that the prosecution would not be able to re-bring the case. The question as to why they have done it, I'm clearly not on that defense team, and I'm not certain that the judge would grant that, because the remedy for violations of the rule of evidence is a reversal of a conviction and then a new trial, so the defendant would get a new trial. So I highly doubt that the judge is going to grant a mistrial with prejudice.
In the request, Rittenhouse's attorneys accused prosecutors of unjustly giving them a low-quality copy of higher-quality video evidence. The original video, which prosecutors consider key evidence, was 11.2 megabytes large. Prosecutors gave the defense a lower-resolution 3.6 megabyte file. Rittenhouse's lawyers also cited two procedural issues made by prosecutor Thomas Binger.
I think the remedy under the law for all of those violations, and we're looking unfavorably at the prosecution when I'm talking about this, the remedy is simply a new trial for Mr. Rittenhouse.
Concerning the video evidence in question, prosecutors denied any wrongdoing. They say a technical glitch appears to have produced the lower quality video. But the jury has seen the high quality video. Rittenhouse's lawyers refreshed their mistrial request on Wednesday, this time without prejudice. So if the judge grants the request, Rittenhouse can be retried in court. Miguel Moreno, NTD News.
And in Phoenix, a gathering of the country's Republican governors. They gave a warm welcome to the newest member of the group on Wednesday, Virginia's governor-elect Glenn Youngkin. At the Republican Governors Association's meeting in Phoenix, the spotlight is on Youngkin. That's after he defeated his Democratic challenger earlier this month. Youngkin's victory came in a state that President Biden won by double digits only a year ago. The GOP looks to replicate his win in other races next year during the midterm election cycle. 20 Republican governors will be defending their offices as the party hopes to win other races where Democrats hold governorships. Coming up, for craft beer businesses in Colorado, lockdown restrictions are no longer a barrier. One local brewer has created a new sales model to serve his customers. A Florida German Shepherd puts his mansion up for sale. The mansion was passed down through dog generations, and it was once owned by Madonna. All that and more here on NTD News.
Secure, the true solution for your digital privacy and security. Secure is a private and secure messaging and email solution hosted in Switzerland, using military-grade encryption and Swiss privacy laws, giving you true privacy. Secure is 100% private and does not collect or sell any of your personal data. Secure's Helix technology connects you securely to our Swiss servers without the need of a VPN, guaranteeing privacy and security for all your communications. Secure Messenger doesn't require your phone number or any personal data that hackers target. Chat by Invites allows you to chat privately and securely with anyone outside of your secure network without the need for others to download Secure. Secure Send offers you a private and secure way to email anyone outside of Secure. You won't find this level of privacy or security on any other email or instant messaging application. Visit secure.com. Regain and protect your privacy today.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, and I'm here to tell you about my new product from MyPillow. Towels that actually work. Watch this absorbency test. Here's another towel that we randomly went out and bought. Here's one of my towels with the nice design. I don't know if you can see this, but you could line a swimming pool with this. This is crazy. Get rid of it. Towels that actually work.
The new MyPillow towels are exclusively made with 100% USA combed cotton with proprietary technology and with maximum absorbency. They dry you faster and are guaranteed to work.
I'm interrupting this commercial right now. Retailers have canceled MyPillow. And to thank you for all your support, I'm going to pass the savings directly on to you. Go to MyPillow.com to get deep discounts on all MyPillow products. For example, you get my dog beds for as low as $19.99, or for a limited time, you can get my 6-piece towel sets, regularly $109.99, now only $39.99. The lowest price ever with your promo code.
The 5-week-long strike between Deere and Company and thousands of its workers finally comes to an end. The United Auto Workers Union approves a new 6-year contract with the farm equipment maker. The deal contains slight modifications to an agreement put forward but rejected earlier this month. The new agreement includes an $8,500 signing bonus, a 20% increase in wages over the lifetime of the contract, with 10% this year, and enhanced options for retirement. The new agreement covers more than 10,000 workers at 14 facilities across the United States. The Deere & Company CEO says he's happy to see the company's workforce return. The Illinois-based company made record annual profits of around $6 billion in 2021. When the pandemic cut into craft beer offerings, a brewer in Colorado tried a new approach to save his business. Lucky for the company, the strategy was an immediate hit with customers. NTD's Colin Fredrickson has the story.
For craft beer lovers in Fort Collins, a small town in northern Colorado, pandemic restrictions became a particular downer after they barred access to tap rooms. But one brewery came up with a crafty idea both to serve customers and boost its own sales.
Rally King Brewing is a small brewery in Fort Collins, and during the pandemic, we survived because of mobile canning, because of to-go beer. We were shut down for a period of time, and the only thing that we had to actually sell was cans of beer out of our fridge in the front.
Rally King hired Roadie Canning Solutions, an on-demand mobile canning company. They packed beer in aluminum cans and sold them to customers no longer allowed to drink in tap rooms.
We actually offered our services for free to the community to help keep them in business, and we partnered with a local can house to sell them cans at cost.
It proved a win-win sales approach. As customers flocked to Rally Brewery's flagship beers, demand for Road's canning services soared along with the boom.
Since the pandemic started, Roadie Canning has seen an increased uptick from last year of another 25%, capturing the customers that were new to us last year, as well as new customers that have seen the value in the service that we provide.
Despite keeping social distance from friends, customers could still take comfort in the fact that their favorite beverages were still available.
The sense of normalcy that was provided by just being able to come and grab the favorite neighborhood beer and just have some downtime, you know, even if alone with your friends, it reminded you of the community that was about to come around the corner again.
The clinking of glasses, followed by a leisurely deep drink, marks the end of a successful canning operation. When complete, Rhodes still needs to push his mobile canning plant into the back of a trailer, where it's tied down and secured. The mobile plant may only be 6 feet long, but its impact has been a big one.
Several New York icons got together this week to host a food giveaway. They had a whole turkey for anyone showing up. NTD's Arian Pastar was there.
Former NBA players, businessman John Katzmatidis and many more gathered here today to start their food giveaway. They say they're handing out 100,000 turkeys to families in need.
This is the start of the season of giving, and it's so important for all of us to come together and give.
The organizers lined up and handed out turkeys one by one. John Wallace played for the New York Knicks and was a first-round pick in the NBA draft back in the 90s. He says he's doing this because he knows what it's like being poor.
You know, when I was younger, we kind of lived that way, so I remember those days vividly, and it was very tough. It puts a lot of stress. We were able to overcome it in my household because of all the love that was there. So even when we were struggling and there wasn't money, we had a lot of love, and love overcomes all.
Tom Hoover, also a former player, agrees that love should be shared.
You can help your fellow man. That's what you're supposed to be doing in this life. How many pair of shoes can you wear at one time? How many cars can you drive? So if you're fortunate enough to have 2 pairs of shoes or 25 cents over your lunch money, then yes, you can give a dime or a nickel to somebody else to help them.
A line of people formed outside the church. Once inside, they got their free turkey and beans and other side dishes to serve with the turkey. The main organizer is John Katzmatidis. He owns the grocery store chain Gristidis.
We have to make sure no child goes hungry in New York. Nobody that's poor goes hungry in New York. It's the holidays. It's time to give.
The organizers said they will continue giving away free turkeys in years to come. Arian Pastar, NTD News, New York.
We have some tips from the TSA that may help make your Thanksgiving travel go a little more smoothly. Travelers are advised to arrive a little earlier to airports and use pre-check if possible. Here's more on the recommendations and how to travel with food if you're wanting to share it with your family. The Transportation Security Administration, or TSA, can't help with traffic on the road, but they want to help streamline your travel experience at the airport. They recommend breezing through security using pre-check and waiting until you arrive at your destination before you wrap gifts. That's because some gifts may need additional inspection and guards may not have time to rewrap them because check-in lines are expected to be packed.
Now, we expect to see substantial increase in passenger volumes, which will be approaching the pre-pandemic 2019 periods of volume that we saw from 2 years ago, which is good news for the airport and good news for the region.
But what about traveling with food? The rule is anything solid can go through the checkpoint, including pies, cakes, and even frozen turkeys. But anything spillable that's more than 3.4 ounces should be in a checked bag. The airlines have a rule that any liquids carried onto the plane must be 3.4 ounces or less. No exceptions, except for hand sanitizer.
You can bring up to one 12-ounce container of hand sanitizer, like you said. Typically, the limit is 3.4 ounces, which is 100 milliliters, which is the international standard. And so usually, you'd have to put your liquids, gels, and aerosols in a bag like this. But because there's a pandemic, we're allowing people to bring up to one 12-ounce container of hand sanitizer.
The TSA also reminds travelers to wear a mask, not bring prohibited items, and ask for help for people with disabilities ahead of time. Happy travels. Gunther the German Shepherd spent a recent morning playing with his tennis ball, rolling in the grass, slobbering a little and napping a lot. Later, he had a meeting with the real estate agents selling his Miami mansion, a mansion that his handlers bought from Madonna.
This is the first time in our career where it came down to our boss, the wealthiest animal in the world, a German Shepherd named Gunther, had to sign off with his approval on us listing this property.
As crazy as it sounds, even by Florida standards, Gunther VI inherited his vast fortune from his grandfather, Gunther IV. And that fortune included a 9-bedroom waterfront home once owned by the Material Girl. At least that's what the handlers who oversee the estate say. Madonna sold the Tuscan-style estate 20 years ago, but who bought it back then? Gunther III, who had inherited a multi-million-dollar trust after its owner, a German countess, died in 1992, and now it's listed for sale again. A congressional advisory body is warning that China could launch an attack on Taiwan despite risks of U.S. intervention. Its report also details the CCP's threats to the world. Here are the details.
The U.S.-China Economic and Security Review Commission, or USCC, on Wednesday released its annual report to Congress. The 539-page document highlights the increasing threats the Chinese Communist Party poses to the U.S. and world order.
This year, the CCP showed itself increasingly willing to escalate that competition into confrontation.
While the U.S. seeks to preserve interests without conflicts, the bipartisan advisory board warns that Beijing may have different ideas.
The Chinese are at or near an initial invasion capability, which means the ability to conduct the land invasion of Taiwan, even assuming American intervention, albeit at very high risk.
The report recommends the U.S. should increase deterrence by making it easier for Taiwan to purchase defense articles and deploying cruise and ballistic missiles in the Indo-Pacific, while warning that if China perceives a weak U.S. position, it could seek an opportunist invasion.
If they can accomplish assimilation on their terms with Taiwan, it will undermine America's credibility as a security guarantor in the region. So the implications for the United States are very, very great.
Besides increased security threats, the new report also highlights how the opaque nature of Chinese companies can put U.S. investors at risk.
They are looking to the U.S. and other Western sources of capital to help fuel CCP policies.
In addition to expanding investment restrictions on Chinese companies, the Commission also urges U.S. firms with activities in China to better disclose what they are doing there.
Stop saying I don't want to disclose this. Stop saying I don't like the light shined on my activities in China because it makes me look bad. Well, guess what? If it makes you look bad, maybe you shouldn't be involved in it.
The report concludes that the U.S. should design policies based on the realization that the CCP is a menacing adversary determined to end the security and prosperity of billions of people. It warns that otherwise we will continue to see a slow but certain erosion of democratic nations around the world.
International athletes are speaking out over an alleged scandal and putting Beijing in the hot seat. They're backing a Chinese tennis star who's accusing a former Chinese vice premier of sexual assault. NTD's Tiffany Meyer has more on the story.
International athletes are speaking out. Tennis superstar Naomi Osaka is the latest athlete to voice concern over Peng Shuai. The former Chinese tennis star has not been seen in public since accusing a former Chinese state leader of sexual assault. Osaka said on Twitter Tuesday, "Censorship is never okay at any cost. I hope Peng Shuai and her family are safe and okay. I am in shock of the current situation, and I am sending love and light her way." Peng once ranked world #1 in doubles. Earlier this month, she accused former Chinese Vice Premier Zhang Gaoli of coercing her into sex at his home 3 years ago. Her post on China's Twitter-like platform Weibo was up for just 30 minutes before Chinese censors deleted it. Her Weibo account has been blocked, and any mention of the accusation online has been wiped. Peng has not been seen in public since then for half a month. A growing number of international athletes have expressed concern, including men's world #1 Novak Djokovic.
It's shocking, that she's missing.
Tennis legend and 39-time Grand Slam championship winner Billie Jean King, former world #1 Chris Evert, and former top-ranking Martina Navratilova also expressed their concern. In addition, 3 tennis associations spoke out for Peng. The Women's Tennis Association called on Beijing to investigate Peng's allegations, saying she should be heard, not censored. Later, the association was joined by the ATP Tour, a worldwide top-tier tennis tour for men, as well as the U.S. Tennis Association. On Wednesday, a Chinese Communist Party's media mouthpiece said they saw an email from Peng to the Women's Tennis Association. In it, they said Peng denied she had disappeared. NTD contacted the association for comment but did not receive a response before airtime. The accused Zhang Gaoli is 75. He served in the Communist Party's highest leadership body, the Politburo Standing Committee. He retired as vice premier 3 years ago.
Just ahead, Christmas fairs are back in Germany for the upcoming holiday season, but this year, the pandemic has prompted a new set of safety rules. Hear more in just a minute.
The worst genocide in human history also destroyed the lives of thousands of Jewish survivors still suffering today.
God calls on people who believe in Him to act on His word. Comfort ye, comfort my people.
Especially during this holiday season of Hanukkah. When I come here and I sit with Lily, I realize what she needs right now is food. These elderly Jews are weak and they're sick. They're living on $2 a day. This now is how God's children are living. Take this time to send a survival food box to these forgotten Jews.
The International Fellowship of Christians and Jews urgently need your gift of $25 now to help provide one survival food box with all of the essentials they critically need for their diet for 1 month. Your special holiday gift will provide everything they need to celebrate the miracle of Hanukkah.
This is the first time in over 70 years that she has anything to do with faith. The communists came and wiped it out.
Your grandparents?
And now we're coming to her and we're saying, it's okay to have faith. It's okay to light the Hanukkah candles.
For just $25, you can help supply the essential foods they desperately need for 1 month.
For over 35 years, this trusted ministry has given Christians like me a way to tangibly bless Jewish people who are in need throughout the world.
God tells us to take care of them,
to feed the hungry. And I pray Holocaust survivors will be given the basic needs that they so desperately pray for to survive.
Torrential rains and massive floods are submerging major cities in Canada, and the death toll from the disaster is still set to rise. British Columbia issued a state of emergency yesterday after landslides devastated parts of the province, blocking roads and leaving several mountain towns isolated. Provincial Premier John Horgan described the calamity as a once-in-500-year event. Authorities have so far confirmed 1 death. At least 3 are missing. The flooding is the second weather-related calamity to hit British Columbia in the last few months. Mudslides also severed access to Abbotsford, the country's largest port in Vancouver. Farmers there ignored an evacuation order on Tuesday and desperately tried to save their animals from rising waters. The World Health Organization's head of emergencies program, Mike Ryan, has warned governments against making vaccines compulsory. He called some measures targeting unvaccinated people extreme and said they raise real issues around freedoms and human rights.
Mandatory vaccination for work or mandatory vaccination or proof of previous infection to access hotels, restaurants, and even to the extreme of asking people who are unvaccinated to stay home as opposed to vaccinated people being out. And this raises real issues around civil liberties. This raises real issues around human rights. And it's something that governments should consider extremely carefully.
Ryan said that if such measures are brought in, there should be clear reasons stated and demonstrated as to why that action is being taken. And governments need to be absolutely sure the benefits outweigh the risks. He noted the WHO's position on compulsory vaccination, stating it's not the best means to achieve the highest vaccine uptake.
Germany's traditional Christmas markets are finally back for the coming holiday season. But this year, fans of mulled wine and gingerbread will have to heed extra safety rules due to the pandemic.
After a year-long pandemic suspension, the centuries-old Christmas markets in Hamburg and other German cities are finally back on. Unlike in the past, this year the hot mulled wine and gingerbread are only available for those vaccinated against COVID-19 or who recently recovered from the illness. For those who haven't gotten the jab, access is limited to wooden booths selling crafts or candy.
That's normal now. Everywhere you go, you show your certificate.
Germany has one of the lowest vaccination rates in Western Europe, where no political consensus has yet been reached on vaccine mandates. In several of its 16 states, including Berlin, the gourmet area of the Christmas markets will be off limits and kept behind a fence, with a security guard at the entrance checking proof of vaccination or recovery. The market segregation strategy is a new measure for Germany, as the country seeks to contain the 4th wave of the virus without imposing a lockdown. Opinions are still divided on whether to hold the Christmas fairs. Vendors say they're happy to have their stalls set up.
It is liberating. It's like having been locked up and now finally being back out in the cold, with 4 weeks of hard work ahead.
But on the flip side, doubts are also growing over the risk of keeping the event going.
I have been thinking a lot about this because on one hand, I find it completely perverse. To be honest, we have an incident of 300 and they are still building Christmas markets here. On the other hand, the Christmas market stand owners, farmers and organizers are not the ones to blame. There is no roadmap at the moment.
On Tuesday, Munich announced it would cancel the city's Christmas market. The mayor told the media that the dramatic pandemic situation there has left him no choice.
Austria becomes the first European country to reinstate restrictions on daily movements as police and citizens get used to life in a different type of lockdown. Unvaccinated people are only allowed to leave home for work and essential shopping. People are checked by police as they go in and out of shops to make sure they've received their jabs, with authorities saying they've received little pushback against the measures so far. NTD's Eddie Aitken brings us this report.
Police in Vienna are carrying out spot checks of COVID vaccination status after a national lockdown of unvaccinated people began on Monday.
We try to control closely, but you have to understand that it's still random checks. Of course, you can never enforce a law in such a way that everyone is checked everywhere and all the time.
Police say they are encountering little kickback against the measures.
I think it's quite good that there are checks because as a mum with a 1-year-old daughter, I'm honestly concerned about her. I myself am vaccinated, but my daughter is unprotected.
I think it is absolutely fine that there are checks and that vaccinated people like me can all move around freely.
Others felt their freedoms were tinged somewhat by the measures.
I expected it, not to such an extent, checking on the way in and then on the way out too, but it's part of the measures. I find it a bit weird. That's all I can say about it, really. I'm vaccinated. It doesn't affect me that way. But to have so many police standing in front of shops, I think it's kind of weird.
2 million people in the country of 9 million are forced to stay at home and only allowed to go out for work or food shopping or to go get vaccinated. Officials say police patrols and checks will be stepped up and unvaccinated people can be fined up to £1,200 if they violate these rules. The country's third biggest party in Parliament is planning a protest against COVID restrictions on Saturday. Eddie Aitken, NTD News.
Dozens of skydivers, 2 airborne videographers come together for one record-setting jump. 40 women dove from a plane 16,000 feet in the air last Saturday, making 3 formations on a single skydive over Arizona. In doing so, the group broke the state's sequential skydiving record. They also broke Arizona's women's formation record, which was set roughly 10 years ago. The skydivers came from all around the U.S. and even outside the country, including from Paraguay and Spain. Childhood is a time to roam with friends and learn to navigate the world, but during a pandemic, that takes some extra help from parents. Let's get a few tips from Gina Marie, who brings us Strong Mind and Body.
Welcome to Strong Mind and Body. I'm Gina Marie. During the pandemic, parents are dealing with lots of demands on their time and energy. Many kids are not attending school or involved in regular activities. Here are 7 ways parents can foster children's resilience. Number 1, connect with one another. Make time to talk, listen, and play without distractions. Be sure children know they are loved unconditionally. This can include taking breaks to check in during the day when learning and working at home. Take walks together or play their favorite games. Making the effort to connect helps children know that they are valued and creates a sense of security. Number 2, support children's friendships. Think about ways for children to play together outdoors. Some families are creating safe zones or bubbles where they allow children to pick a close friend or two whom they can interact with more closely. Maintaining friendships gives children opportunities to learn from peers. This reduces stress and provides support and acceptance. Number 3, find ways children can help others. Talk about how others are also struggling. Encourage children to donate toys they've outgrown, save money for a special cause, or help a neighbour with errands. It could be shopping, bringing in mail, doing yard work, or dog walking. When you do things for others in the community, include your children and talk about why you do it. This helps children learn about the needs of others and cultivate empathy. Number 4, stay in touch with important adults. Children benefit from relationships with grown-ups such as grandparents and teachers. They can be another source of support and someone to talk to about problems or successes. They are particularly important when parents are unavailable due to work or other obligations. Number 5, be physically active. Make exercise a part of family routines. Take walks or ride bikes, go to the park, stretch or do yoga or qigong together. Exercise has many benefits. It also helps children to handle the physical effects of stress on the body and improves mood and mental health. Number 6, create routines. Routines are a powerful, non-verbal signal to children's brains that they are safe and that life is predictable. Keeping a routine can reduce the number of conflicts, and children know what to do and expect during different points of the day. Together you can create and display daily or weekly calendars with words and pictures. This can remind children when learning, playing, resting, sleeping and eating activities occur. And number 7, maintain a healthy, safe home. Make nutritious meals, declutter and organize toys, games, hobby supplies and learning materials. Find ways to involve children in preparing meals, organizing their work and play spaces, cleaning up after activities, and sharing in conversations about family rules. Chaos and clutter are the enemies of calm. Creating safe and orderly spaces helps children manage stress. Eating healthy foods together benefits physical and mental health. These tried and true techniques can help youngsters make it through tough times and come out the other side okay.
Thanks for watching. At NTD, we're honored to be your source for the news. Catch us again tonight at 6:30 Eastern. In New York City, I'm Kevin Hogan.
Thanks for watching us on YouTube. Did you know YouTube only keeps selective videos on its platform? So if you want to make sure you get the full picture, just subscribe to our newsletter. Go to newsletter.ntd.com and